Who was the dumbest person you ever met? How did you know? Girl in my class asked the professor if other countries have moons too. This is so innocently stupid, and it's my favorite. Only if it was a teacher, not a professor. This is actually concerning. It was Lori Laulan's kid. I had a guy at work tell me that Benjamin Franklin was the 100th president because he's on the $100 bill. I mean, we are only on the 45th, so he could be right one day. In another 200 years a kid may well be named Ben Franklin unironically. Teacher, Ben Franklin unironically? BFU, present. She thought I was trying to trick her into believing that Adolf Hitler was real. Edit. Thank you for my first silver, kind stranger. But, like, were you? Oh hell yeah, I not only tried, but also succeeded in the end. But I couldn't trick her into believing the Holocaust. She said there was no way. Darn it. On the bright side, she probably votes now, so that's good. Edit. Gracious poor silver. I know a guy who thinks the specialty he drinks negates the negative health effects of his pack-a-day smoking habit. What's this specialty? I think might have smoked one pack too many. Stupidity. Amazing. This needs to be on store shelves next to smart water. I went to school with a girl that legitimately thought 9/11 was done by German Nazis. Pretty sure that was 9/11. We hired a girl a couple years ago. I told her where the manager's office was her first day. Second day, she asked me where the manager's office was, so I walked her to the door. Third day, she asks me where it is again. Our manager chewed out the girl who trained our new recruit for not teaching the job properly. The trainer pulled out her phone and showed the manager a picture of the girl wearing the uniform backwards and said, "Look at this. This is untrainable." New girl got fired about 3 weeks later for stealing the product because she thought she got it for free because she was an employee. Edit. Some of you are kind enough to give her the benefit of the doubt about not finding the office. Unfortunately, this office was located on the second floor, which consisted of a hallway with a single door and nothing else. It wasn't possible to get lost. Also, spelling. This reminds me of a girl I like to remember as Moon. She would just glaze over and leave her body when you delivered the most basic instructions. It was not a hard job. She hugged me when I fired her 2 weeks later. Edit. I think back and still remember her daily. I won't give a real example since it might give away too much info, but it was similar to not knowing that a human is supposed to have 2 arms and not 3. She was unbearably dense, but I really tried to give her a chance. My staff and my customers were getting pretty frustrated with her, so I didn't really have a choice. I promise I'll let her down gently. She could tell I felt bad, which is why she hugged me. Edit 2. I'm going to give an example of a time when someone probably thought I was the biggest idiot in the world. My assistant manager's BF came to visit with cool new glasses. White on the outside, black on the inside. I asked him if they were reversible, vertical bar. I remember proofreading a paper for a freshman my roommate had the hots for. It was on Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, but somehow this freshman didn't catch that it was satire. The opening lines of the paper are burned into my memory. Eating children would not be a good thing to do. In fact, we could say it would be bad. Well, we could say that, but would it be true? I used to work with the nicest person I've ever met, but he was also the dumbest. Even though he had been there over a year, he couldn't do anything beside washing dishes without someone watching over him. He just could not figure out how to do anything on his own. Someone, usually me, would have to watch over every little thing he did to make sure he was doing it right. It would have been frustrating if he wasn't the nicest damn person on earth. He was always so happy to see you and did everything with a smile on his face. Luckily he could wash dishes like a freaking beast. I'm not exaggerating when I say he could wash dishes faster and cleaner than anyone I have ever met. That's the reason he would do other stuff, is because he washed dishes so damn fast we'd have to find other stuff for him to do. His wife was normal and all his kids were doctors or engineers. They were all crazy smart. What was kind of sad is that he knew he wasn't the smartest, but he was so damn nice. The fact he knew he wasn't the smartest actually shows he's pretty intelligent in at least that specific way, and humble. Most dumb people have no idea they're dumb. This is probably the only person in the whole thread who I actually look up to. Edit. Dunning-Kruger effect. Yes, you guys can stop sharing that with me now, haha. A girl in my sophomore year of high school who thought there were 6 months in a year. She was really nice, but very surprised and confused when we tried to set her right. How did she get to high school without someone setting her straight? Edit. Neat. First ever gold. Well, you see, she got there in half the time. I live in southern Spain. I once met a girl from the US who was here on some kind of exchange program. When I asked her how did she like Spain so far, she said I'm loving it. I just don't know why the plane took so long to get here. I mean, we are just a bit below Mexico. I don't know where the flight was so long. Then I told her that we were in Europe. And she didn't believe me. Her reply was, Europe? It can't be. Everyone speaks Spanish, so we must be somewhere near Mexico for sure. She was in uni. I still don't know how or why. Lol, how the hell do you join an international exchange program without even knowing where you're going on the freaking map? Some people glide through life with a guardian angel preventing them from walking into traffic or some crap. Totally. I remember another time when in a convo she said it was a blessing in disguise. I then told her, don't you mean a blessing in disguise? She got visibly upset and told me that she was pretty sure that the saying was a blessing in disguise and that since English was her mother tongue she must knew better. Sigh. A girl in my class in middle school genuinely thought people had landed on the sun. Her explanation for this belief was to insist that the moon and sun are made of the same stuff. Well, yeah. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. You can build a lot of wacky shit with that, though. Protons, neutrons, electrons, and morons apparently. Morons. The missing piece to the standard model, found at last. I had a boss who told me that she never kept leftovers from a meal because that's how polio got started. All that pre-cooked food in the supermarket, it's all polio. My sister-in-law is an anti-vaxxer and believes her kid's cerebral palsy was caused by vaccines despite the kid being born with 1/4 of her brain physically missing. That girl is lucky. She cold been born missing her whole brain like her mother. Absolute savage. I love it. I was working in a French company. We were working with a dev team in Vietnam on Summit project. The project manager they report to in HQ is French. They didn't like him, and he knew it. The Vietnamese team did some great job. He wanted to find the correct words to congratulate them, hoping to smoothen the future relationship. He sent that incredible thank you email. When we see the quality of your work, we can only realize how sad it is that we lost you guys as a colony. The French expats in the Vietnam office told me they were hiding in shame for a full week. Edit. I never thought I would be that guy, but thank you, kind strangers, for l'argent. Edit 2. For those of you saying this is typical Frenchness, I'm French myself and all the other French in CC were just as WTF as I was. Wow. That's like congratulating a black guy and saying what a shame that you can't buy him anymore. Oh lord, strap in. This is a ride. Let me tell you about Sarah. Now, Sarah was, and remains to be, one of the sweetest girls I've ever met. She's the sort of girl who would give you the shirt off her back and not think twice. The sort of woman who would allow a stranger to stay in her home without question. She routinely gives money to charity and helps volunteer. She really is an angel. But Christ, is that girl dumb. When we were in high school, I mentioned that I one day wanted a small farmette, something just big enough so I could raise chickens. I've always liked chickens, and you get fresh eggs too. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and said, if you want eggs, you need goats. This girl had made it to our senior year in high school without knowing where eggs came from. Our class was talking about a fellow student who had been diagnosed with a very serious illness. His girlfriend announced that he had realized something was wrong when he began urinating blood. Sarah piped up with, "Oh my god, he isn't sick. He just got his period. I've had mine for like 4 years." Sarah and I were once driving her car in the late 90s and her car battery died. We were only a mile away from my house, so I walked there, grabbed my car, and headed back. I parked and lifted her hood. She asked what I was doing. I told her I was going to connect the jumpers because her battery had died. This girl looked right at me and said my car runs on gas, not batteries. She legitimately had no idea that fish, the food, came from actual living fish. She decided she wasn't going to eat meat anymore. She would text me at all hours asking if the food she was about to eat was meat or not. I literally had to coach this woman. We were well out of high school at this point on what meat products come from what animals. She still doesn't believe that tofu isn't from an animal. She thought France was in Canada. She thought all of South America was like North America and one single country. She didn't believe that there was a North and South Pole. She asked me how planes ever got where they were going when the earth was spinning so fast, and then followed up with, "Oh, I get it. They just go up and sit still until the place comes to them, right?" She thought hippos were made up, like unicorns.